Hi folks, I'm Nick. Welcome back to my channel Funimation. In this video we gonna see what if Naruto was basically based on Son Goku. So let's start the story. Chapter 3, Genesis of a Shinobi. Uzumaki Naruto walked inside the classroom, after sliding open the door. Immediately, he took in the almost empty classroom, before landing on one of the three filled seats. In the center, sat a boy with hair resembling a pineapple, his head on the desk and eyes closed. Though, he lazily opened an eye when nudged by the chubby boy beside him, the latter holding a pack of chips. Naruto was totally prepared to match the stare with his own, only for the boy to close the eye again, even tilting his head sideways. Huh? Didn't he sleep last night? Shrugging, he shifted his vision to the corner in the left hand where a girl, with dark blue hair which could almost pass as black if not for the light from the window on the other side, occupied the seat. She had her head down, but as if somehow knowing he was looking at her, the girl looked up only to quickly bury her face again in her jacket. Still, the Uzumaki managed to take a glimpse of her eyes. She's one of those pale-eyed guys Naruto could recall, on his hands, of his sightings of those guys with white eyes. They never traveled alone and seemed to have a stick up their ass, as Kanda would say it. Also, they behaved like they were too good for the others. But this girl's like she isn't even good for herself. Who cares? Let it be known, Uzumaki Naruto wasn't here to get attention, beg for friends or any of those things, but to get strong so that others would have to respect him. Fodder like you and me are easily forgotten, only the strong get the respect. That weird man's words flashed in his mind, only affirming his vow. There was no need to doubt that man, not when it was him who had set him on the path to the red light district in the first place. Yeah. I promise I will get strong, and I won't go back on my word. Bail. Reminding himself, for the umpteenth time, the former blonde walked up to the right-hand corner. Still, if someone approaches me on their own, I won't deny them. Taking a look between the second last and the last seat, he decided to sit on the ladder, the adjacent window providing a better view of the outside. Some moments passed in silence. The door slid open again, a pink-haired girl ambled inside. Taking a peek, almost as if afraid, at the others from beneath her hair, she quickly took a seat in the middle of the very first row. Not even a second later, a girl with pale blonde hair walked inside before quickly joining the pink-haired one on the seat. Yawning a bit, Naruto decided to imitate the pineapple-haired boy and laid his head on the desk before looking out of the window. This is gonna take a bit. The Uzumaki slowly opened his eyes, indistinct chatter invading his ears, before blinking a couple of times. Suppressing a yawn, he looked towards the front only to gain an expression of mild surprise. Did I fall asleep? The entire class was brimming with boys and girls of his age. Apparently, they had arrived when he was supposed to be just looking out of the window. Weird. And it seemed, some groups had already formed. Well, let's see who's here. The pineapple-haired boy was still seemingly sleeping, the chubby one beside him still eating. Wow. They work hard. Snorting, he looked towards the front. The pink-haired and the blonde-haired girls were animatably talking. Where did that shyness go? Then, his gaze drifted to the girl's left, at the very first bench in his own line. Sitting atop it was a blue shirt-clad boy. Hair. The Uzumaki blinked. His hair is like a duck's ass. He began snickering, covering his mouth with his fist. This went for some seconds before he purposely looked at the red-haired girl beside the boy. Red hair, huh? Wonder if I had them. The sound of the door sliding, interrupting his thoughts, the now brunette directed his attention towards the entrance where a man, after closing the door, began walking to the center of the class. Obviously a shinobi, his Hittite giving it away, the man had brown hair tied in a knot, tanned face, and the most prominent thing being a scar on his nose. Either he's a badass or a lousy one. The Uzumaki mused to himself, eyes focused on the scar. The shinobi, after reaching behind the desk, placed a book of sorts on it before taking in the entire class, a silly smile on his face. What's his game? Is he expecting something? Naruto continued to look at the man, absent-mindedly noting that no one had noticed the man, the chatter still ongoing. Some seconds passed in the status quo. Then, the man smiled dimmed a bit. On the other hand, if possible, the chatter went up a notch. That disguised blonde looked around in slight surprise. The duck-ass, redhead, chubby and pale eyes aside, no one had even noticed the shinobi in front of them. And he's not even trying to hide. Somewhat stunned, Naruto looked back, noticing the man's eye had begun to twitch. Then, the scarred guy took a deep breath, closing his eyes. That's it? He's not gonna. Shut up. The Uzumaki recoiled in shock. The shinobi's head had grown several times in an instant. What the? Silence ensued. The kids, earlier chatting, quickly sat like statues, faces pale and eyes wide, directed at the scarred shinobi who waited a moment before nodding, seemingly to himself. Then, the man smiled, the scar on his nose stretching. His mood shifts are faster than anything else I have seen. That disguised blonde contemplated while waiting for the shinobi to begin. "All hail," the shinobi started, still smiling. I'm Naruto, a chunin of Konohagakure no Sato. Welcome you all to the Shinobi Academy. Here, you will learn how to be an asset in service to the great tree that is Konoha. Ruka's smile widened a bit. And, as your sensei for the next 6 years till your graduation, I will try my best to help you, guide you and prepare you to achieve the goal. The shinobi paused, looking at the faces of his students who were beginning to gain the earlier spunk and excitement. Understood? The sensei asked. Breaking the silence, the students began to nod and shout in affirmation. Okay, enough. Silence again followed. Good. Now, the first and foremost task is to mark your attendance. Reply and raise your hand only and only when your name is called. Picking up the book from the desk, Ruka cleared his throat. Let's begin. Abraham Shino. Hi, the tone was totally bland. Deciding to learn the names of his classmates, and see the owner of such a dull voice, Naruto aimed his gaze at the front desk, just adjacent to the door, and his eyebrows lifted in surprise. A boy, wearing black round glasses and an almost gray jacket with a high upturned collar, was sitting there. The hell? Where did he come from? I swear he wasn't there just a moment ago. Akimbiki Choji. Here, sensei. The next name wanting his attention, the Uzumaki shrugged at the weirdness of the situation, turning his gaze just in time to see the chubby kid lowering his hand. Ah. So, I just have to replace the Abi and chubby with Oji. As the name calls went on, Naruto tried his hardest to pay attention but the kids were too plain and boring to even consider. As Candy says, not everyone and their grannies are cool. Haruno Sakura. Hi, sensei. Of course, the pink-haired one would be Sakura, I should have known. The former blonde snorted under his breath. Even now, he couldn't get his head around the shyness she had displayed in the beginning. Now, it was nowhere to be seen. Hi Shuhuga Hinata. Hinata? Naruto's face crunched up slightly, the name resounding in his mind. I know I have heard it. But where? Hi, sensei. That disguised blonde whirled around, heeding to the sound, again just in time to see the pale-eyed girl lowering her hand. She's Hinata? But why can't I remember her? The name sounds familiar, though. And what's with her speech? Inuzuka Kiba. A dog zipping brought the Uzumaki out of his attempts to pry his own memory lane. The brunette, placing the Hinata issue in the back of his mind, followed the sound to the third row in the third line where a boy, with wild hair and red mark on his left cheek, was sitting. The Inuzuka raised both his hands, one coming to rest atop the head of a white puppy perched atop the boy's head, while the other hand went straight in the air. Yo! Naruto waited for some seconds to see if the teacher would ask what the pet was doing in the classroom, but nothing happened. If anything, the teacher marked the attendance and looked back at the class. That. Bayo? It could only mean one thing: pets were allowed in the class. Cool. I wish I had one. The next name calls went, none of the 4 students enticing his interest. Still, the uzumaki continued to follow every kid when the respective name call was made. Namikaze Mito. Silence ensued in the entire class. The redhead, in an instant, became the subject to almost every eye in the class. Only Ruka and the duck-ass hair beside her remaining unaffected. The boys and girls alike began looking at the Namikaze heir in surprise and awe. Can't say it's unexpected. The uzumaki mused to himself, looking around as whispers of Yandame's daughter, Mito-sama, began permeating the classroom. How could I miss it? The red hair is a dead giveaway. A bit somber than earlier, he too fixed his gaze on the redhead who, to her credit, was calm and collected just like all those years ago. Naruto walked out, parting the small curtains, into the street. The blonde purposely kept his head down, not at all wanting to spoil his good mood after 10 delicious bowls of ramen. As he took some steps, he heard a commotion from behind him. Curiosity overriding everything, the whiskered blonde turned around, witnessing a group of people of all ages, calling and waving, apparently, at someone. Deciding to check who could beget such attention, he ran towards them. But even after several tries, he couldn't just get past the long legs of the grown-ups, while at the same time, not having the nerve to simply ask them. Namikaze-sama. The blue-eyed kid heard the shout, among many others, but barely paid any mind to it. Right now, he had to see this person. Looking around, he spotted a dumpster adjacent to a wall. Cogs turning, the nearly 4-year-old dashed towards it, managing to climb atop after several tries. Some moments passed, as he waited for the person to show themselves from the spaces between the heads of the grown-ups. Naruto found himself leaning forward a bit when a man, wearing a weird cloth on his hair, black glasses on his eyes, became visible. This is the one? The blonde pondered. Why is he so special? Looking good, Mito-chan. Chan? People didn't use Chan for grown-ups, Naruto knew that. The lady at the orphanage used it for kids other than him. Who was it, then? Immediately, the man took a turn, people paving the way, and began walking towards the Chirachus. The uzumaki froze, witnessing the sight before him. A red-haired girl, just as tall as him, was walking beside the glasses-wearing man, holding his hand. And on her face, on both sides, there were 3 marks. Just like him. Why does she have them? Naruto thought, eyes still fixed at the marks. The orphanage lady had told them that only family members looked similar to each other. No one other was supposed to have the marks, he was sure of that. None of the villagers he had seen till today had them. Is she? My fam. The blonde paused, suddenly remembering his hair, then looked at the girl's red hair as she entered the ramen shop. But our hair looks so different. A slight gasp escaped his mouth, an image of a small blonde girl flashing in his mind. The orphanage lady's daughter. She had yellow hair, but the lady himself had brown. The lady had said her daughter looked like her daddy. What if he needed to know? He would know. His mind made, Naruto got off the dumpster before running towards the group of people still surrounding the ramen shop. Not caring for anything, the blonde dashed into the horde of legs. He went past 3 people, counting while seeing how many more were there, only to halt when someone grabbed his collar. The next moment, the blonde was facing the sky, a dull ache beginning to form in his left forearm. What the hell are you doing here? Naruto looked ahead, taking in 2 men and a woman surrounding him. What? Haven't you done enough by giving her your mark? The second man even clenched his fists. Poor girl. I can't even imagine how difficult it would be for her to live with those marks on her face, the woman began sobbing. But. Shut up. This is the first time Mito-sama has made an appearance in the village, and you already want to spoil it? I won't allow it, results be damned. Listen well, the brat, if I ever see you around this place, trust me, you'll wish you were never born." The men spared him another glare before walking away, the other two following him. Naruto could only lay there, their words repeating in his head. What did I do? As soon as the old man led him out of the orphanage, the blonde halted. "Gigi, can I ask you something?" The old man looked at him for a bit before nodding. "Of course, Naruto-kun. That day, I saw a red-haired girl at the Ichiraku ramen. She also had the same marks as me on her face. The orphanage lady says that only family members look the same. Then why does she have them? People say because I corrupted her. But I don't even know her." The blonde paused when the old man crouched before him, putting his big hands on his own shoulders. "Naruto-kun, listen to me carefully," he nodded. "That girl is Namikaze Mito, daughter of the fourth Hokage. You know who he is, right?" "Uh-huh," the Uzumaki nodded again. "The orphanage lady says he was the strongest ninja who saved the village 4 years ago from a monster." "Correct. Sadly, when the monster appeared, both U and Mito were too close to it. Though, the fourth Hokage managed to save both of you, but not before you got these marks on your faces." Even the fact that fourth Hokage himself saved him couldn't lift his mood. He hadn't stopped thinking about the girl who might be his family, but that was not the case. After all, if he were related to the village hero, his life would also have been like her. Also, do not listen to the villagers, they know nothing about what happened that night. "Okay," the blonde replied in a small voice, slightly hurt that even though both of them were saved by the fourth Hokage, the people loved her because she was the Hokage's daughter, but hated and blamed him because nobody knew of his parents, not even Gigi. That disguised blonde sighed a bit, reminiscing that day. He hadn't seen Mito again till today, not even dared to go to Ichiraku's afterwards. Though Old Man Tuki had been a good guy, even giving free ramen, but he just wanted to avoid any more hatred and unwanted attention. Who knew how people would have reacted seeing him at the same place their Mito-sama visited? "Wait. As I am now, I can easily go to the Ichiraku's, nobody will recognize me." Just like that his mood began to lift, a smile paving its way on his face at the idea of visiting the very place that had hooked him to ramen, the taste of the heavenly dish already beginning to permeate his mouth. "Uchiha Sasuke. Hi. An Uchiha? Straight from N to you? I must have missed some." The Uzumaki paused his thoughts of the food of the gods, the name call requiring his attention, and looked at the raised hand of the duck-ass hair and blinked. "He's with the police guys?" That disguised blonde had seen other Uchihas around the village several times. They never laughed, always glared at everything and seemed to have a stick as high if not higher as the pale-eyed guys. No wonder he hadn't moved even once. "Uzumaki Naruto. So, my name's just after him? Great." Still, having the mind to reply, that disguised blonde raised his hand, going for the reply used by Choji. "Here, sensei." Naruto waited for any sort of confirmation but nothing came. After a bit, he tilted his head, seeing the expression that had appeared on the scarred shinobi's face who looked like he just heard of his demotion to a genin. "Uzumaki Naruto. Here, sensei." "And Naruto-kun?" Hinata quickly peeked out of her collar, looking at the brown-haired boy, and immediately frowned. But he's supposed to be blonde ... and his eyes ... they are not blue. Even those marks are not present. This can't be the Naruto-kun I met 2 years ago, right? Ever since he had arrived in the class, Ruka was sure he had scoured every kid at least 5 times, if not more, but there was no sign of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid having whisker-like marks on his cheeks. As the turn came of the last name, Ruka announced it. "Uzumaki Naruto," and took in the entire class. The only way a bright blonde-haired kid could evade him, was by being absent. "Here, sensei." His eyes immediately snapped to the source of the voice, face quickly morphing into one of incredulity on seeing the boy. How? The boy had brown hair, a shade browner eyes and more shockingly, face without any mark let alone whisker-like marks. Uzumaki Naruto will be joining your class, Ruko-kun. Look beyond the stereotypes surrounding him, and you'll see a good kid who can surprise you. If by surprise me Hokage-sama meant this, I can't deny the feeling. Ruka paused, seeing the head tilt done by the Jinchuriki, realizing then, that he had been staring for a bit at the blonde brunette and slightly rubbed his nose. Ahem, Yamanaka Ino. Hi, sensei. Placing the attendance register on the desk, Ruka picked up a chalk and wrote chakra on the board before looking back at the class. Anyone, unable to read this? Head shakes and yells of denial were the response. Good, though inside, he sighed in relief at not having to deal with another Rock Lee. He definitely had total sucker for the kid, being in hospital till 5 years of age for, still unsuccessful, treatment of chakra deficiency. The kid had no way to learn even basic reading and writing. Still, special cases like his aside, there was a reason why Shinobi Academy began at 6 unlike Civilian Academy beginning at 4. 2 years gap was meant to cover such basic skills and instill learning and some basic independence in the kids. Moving on, can anyone of you tell me what chakra is? Moving on, can anyone tell me what chakra is? Naruto was slightly startled by the sensei suddenly shifting the topic. You and Namikaze Mito will be the only orphans in the class, Naruto-kun. The other kids might behave a little differently due to being raised by their families, even Mito-chan has a personal caretaker being the former Hokage's heir, as such please don't be surprised or saddened. Not sure about the surprise or sad part, the old man Hokage's words were clear that there was no one like him in the class, even Mito was different. Then why hadn't Ruka asked about him? Does he also hate? The Uzumaki mentally shook away the thought. Sure, the scarred shinobi had looked at him a bit weirdly but it was still not enough to label it as hate or any other negative attention. If anything, it was similar to how others in the red light district looked. Racking his brains for some moments, the 6-year-old let go of the thought. It's not like I don't know how to read and write. The orphanage lady sure hadn't even listened to his doubts during her teaching sessions, but it had made him at least try to learn everything in the very first go. Wait. Naruto paused in his pondering, getting a sudden realization. The orphanage. Ruka must know about that. Of course. Satisfied, the Uzumaki again directed his full attention to the class. 3 hands were raised. Emi, Mito and Sakura, all girls and not a single boy. The Chunin took in the excited and hopeful visages of the 3 for a bit. Sakura-chan. Hi, sensei, the girl beamed before standing up. Chakra is an energy produced inside the human body. It is the mixture of 2 types of energies, spiritual energy and physical energy. It can be released by 361 tenketsus. And, what are tenketsus? She seems to have done her homework. Ruka thought, giving an encouraging smile to the pink-haired girl. Tenketsus are nodes, located on the chakra pathway system, through which chakra can be released. Again, there are 361 tenketsus. Textbook definitions. Slightly amused, the scarred shinobi nodded. Very good, Sakura-chan, keep it up, the pink-haired girl's face exploded with sheer joy. Smiling, Ruko continued. To describe chakra in simple words, it is what makes shinobi as they are. It enhances the natural aspects of a human body, strength and speed to name a few, thus allowing the shinobi to perform special feats like jutsus. The students were listening to him attentively, even the clan heirs. Let's hope they keep this attention for the next 6 years. Now, since chakra is the very foundation of a shinobi, the very first task is to unlock it. Excited murmurs rose up in the class, expectant grins dawning over the kids' faces. It wasn't surprising. Born and raised in a shinobi village meant no strangeness to chakra and its usage. Silence, Ruka slightly raised his voice and the result was intended. The first year, they are always the best. Resisting an urge to sniff, he cleared his throat. To unlock your chakra, there is a certain process to be followed. He channeled his own chakra into the stored seal on his Hittite, a scroll appearing in the guise of some smoke. Quickly unsealing it, he spread the leaves that emerged out on the desk. Then, he took in the confused faces of the kids. These leaves will be used to detect your chakra. Once they stick on your forehead without falling down, it means you have successfully accessed it. Announcing, Ruka evenly passed the leaves to the kids in the front row, while waiting patiently as the kids distributed the leaves among themselves. Sakura raised her hand. Yes, Sakura-chan. Why only leaves, sensei? And, why the forehead? Though, she quickly glared at the blonde girl beside her, who was, for some reason, snickering. She has a good head. Ruka nodded in approval. Every village uses something that is symbolic of their village. Iwad uses small pebbles, Kuza uses grass and so on. In our case, it is a leaf. Regarding forehead, the very first tenketsu to release chakra, on its axis, is present there. The girl nodded in understanding before sitting down. The distribution process finished, the Chunin cleared his throat to get the attention of everyone. Now, while we will learn the thorough concept of hand seals later, for now, we need a single hand seal ram seal, one of the uses of which is to mold the chakra. So, copy my hands. The Chunin slowly and carefully began showing the way to create the sealant. Sensei. That distinct raspy tone of the voice was a dead giveaway of who it was. Yes, Kiba-kun? How I am supposed to see you with this stupid leaf on my head? It keeps falling down. Ruka's eye began twitching. Every goddamn year. Why can't I have a class of no stupids? Why? He took a breath. Idiot. You are supposed to learn the hand seal first and use the leaf later. Then, why didn't you say so? Some snickers could be heard at this point. Not paying any attention to them, the scarred shinobi sighed a couple of times. Calm down, Ruka, he's just a kid, admittedly, a stupid one. Please, Kiba-kun, do as I say. The Inuzuka shrugged before leaning backwards into his seat, eyes lazily fixed at him. Ruka again sighed and began demonstrating the process of creating the ram seal. Finishing, he began approaching the students, checking and even correcting them where needed. Naruto tried imitating the Chunin sensei, slowly and carefully bringing the hands together, joining the index and the middle fingers of both the hands, intertwining the others. A satisfied expression began appearing on his face on getting the difficult part right. Now only the thumbs remained. The uzumaki blinked. Wait. Were the thumbs crossed or straight? Oh no. That disguised blonde tried to scour his brains for any hint so that he wouldn't need to ask, but nothing came. Crap. Now, I gotta ask. Any problem, Uzumaki-san? The brunette slowly looked beside him, taking in the black and green clad figure of his sensei, the latter's arms crossed. That's an offer for help, right? This was a bit unexpected, still not the one to look a gift horse in the mouth. He nodded. The thumbs, I don't know how to place them. They are straight over the respective index finger, just like this. Ruka tilted his hands, showing the position of the thumbs. Oh, Naruto quickly complied, looking at his completed seal for a bit. Thank you. Sensei, he murmured, slight hesitation clear, gazing at the impassive face of the scarred man. The Chunin simply nodded before turning and walking to the front of the class, that disguised blonde looking at his retreating figure. One can't get everything, huh? He may not show his hatred, but it's clear from his attitude towards others. Still, nothing was definitely better than anything negative. Some moments passed, the scarred shinobi once again stood in the front. Now, raise your foreheads, place the leaf on them before making the ram seal. He waited as the students did as told. Satisfied, Ruko continued. Close your eyes, take slow and deep breaths and try to clear your mind of any thought. It is easy, just let your thoughts flow, do not push them away. After some time, your mind will be clear and the hand seal will be able to do its work. You will feel the leaf getting tightly stuck to your skin, implying you have been successful. Whoever came with the idea of hand seals, must have been a rare genius. These seals were the lifelines of a shinobi. Without them, it was very difficult to use chakra. Only the rarest of the rare were capable. If not for the Nadame Hokage's one-handed seals, serving as a proof that seals could be modified as necessary, he was sure nothing could have made him believe in the very idea. Further, teaching children to access the chakra only made the task easier. The little brats were malleable, just waiting for the right person. Their simple thoughts, contrary to the complicated ones of the adults, were just the icing on the cake. "Nothing is happening, sensei." The whining tone of the Yamanaka clan heir bringing him out of thoughts, Ruka approached the little blonde girl. "It will take some time, Ino-chan. Patience is necessary." The 6-year-old huffed before going back to the task. Kids these days. Shaking his head in slight amusement, the scarred Chunin walked to the desk beside the girls, looking at the calm faces of Uchiha Sasuke and Namikaze Mito. The leaves, on their respective foreheads, were completely flattened as if someone had stuck them with the glue. It was an obvious work of chakra. Can't say it's unexpected. If not these two, then who? After all, one was the Uchiha clan head's son, brother of the prodigy Uchiha Itachi, and the other was the daughter of, as the villagers would say, their greatest Hokage. Further, everyone worth their salt knew that Mito, despite not living together, was very close to the Uchiha clan head's family, especially the matriarch. It wasn't shocking that she would receive help from them, apart from her own personal teacher. Well, better not say it, the others still need to keep their morale. And since these two have kept the silence, means they are smart and not full of themselves. Giving the duo another look, the Chunin walked towards the other clan heirs. The Aburame being the first, Ruka only smiled seeing the leaf flat on his forehead. Then, he continued, reaching the Akimbiki and Nara clan heirs, and wasn't nonplussed even a bit, to see the former trying hard while the latter simply holding the position, eyes closed. "At least, make an effort to show you are trying, Shikamaru-kan," a grin accompanied his words. This was the first day he could cut them some slack, but only for today. Troublesome. The sensei nearly chuckled, hearing the all-too-familiar expression. So, the rumors of this generation of Inoshikacho being pampered weren't unfounded. Ah, well, these are peace times, no need to rush. This way, they can be still what they are, children. 2 seats later, he was standing near the Hyuga clan heir, the leaf on her forehead struggling between falling or staying glued. This is unexpected. She's a clan heir and still struggling to get it right? Neji managed in the very first hour. Guess, this time apple did fall far. Moving ahead, and turning around the next row before walking towards the front, the Chunin halted before the Inuzuka clan heir who was also trying, his face scrunched. The Inuzukas, they are a rather odd bunch, always leaving the basics to the academy. Hee. Relax Kiba-kun, you are trying too hard, suggesting. Ruka walked forwards to the front of the class before turning around and facing them. Alright, that's enough for today. I have shown you the method, keep practicing whenever you can. This exercise is totally harmless, you can even try it at your home. And, those who have managed to access your chakra, he ignored the startled looks from most of the kids. Keep trying as this exercise also counts as chakra control which is very necessary to effectively perform various shinobi arts. We will learn the details later. Pausing and letting the students digest the information, Ruko continued after a bit. This concludes today's lesson on chakra. The next lesson is on Shuriken Jutsu which will be taught by Mizuki-san, another Chunin sensei in the academy. Then, there will be a half-hour break for lunch, and after that, Ito Sasame-san will begin you on theoretical aspects like history, geography among others. That's all. Good luck. The kids lined themselves, side to side, as told, curiosity and wonder clear on most of their visages, from their wide eyes and grins. The clan heirs have a better control of their emotions, as expected. Outwards, Mizuki watched the little brats with a grin on his face. Based on the previous stats, only clan heirs will be able to make it after graduation. The others don't even know what they are in for. Poor brats. His eyes roaming over their faces, the Chunin continued his ponderings. Though, every now and then, a no-named gaki manages to outshine others. Who knows this year? He halted, eyes coming to stop on the face of a small brunette. So, this is Kuhubai's new look. Ruka wasn't exaggerating. The white-haired man's eyes narrowed a bit. I should reveal this. On second thought, nah. Let's think later how to use the gaki to my advantage. Naruto did not allow his expressions to falter, months of conditioning coming into use. So, Mizuki also hates me. It wasn't difficult to notice. The white-haired man wasn't even trying to hide. The Chunin's smile had faded a bit, eyes totally narrowed, even now as the man was looking at him. No wonder, here also I'll have to learn without asking. Eyes on me, Mizuki loudly declared, getting the intended result. I am Mizuki, and I will teach you the art of Shuriken Jutsu, Taijutsu and all other related things like nutrition plans, speed and strength among others. But for today, we will begin with Shuriken Jutsu. The Chunin raised an eyebrow when the pink-haired girl raised her hand. I ain't Ruka, girly. It means, he nearly snorted seeing the dejected look on the girl's face. The techniques related to throwing Shuriken, kunai, Senbon, to name a few. Again, for today, we will begin with Shuriken, announcing. Mizuki made some seals before slamming his hands on the ground. Doton, Dorigshi. An earth wall, reaching up till his waist, rose from the ground. Murmurs full of astonishment and awe filled the clearing. The Chunin, paying them no attention, simply channeled chakra into his wristband, a scroll appearing in the guise of smoke. Unsealing it, he spread the shurikens atop the earth wall. Silence, his voice leaving no qualms, the students immediately quietened. These are wooden shurikens for practice purpose. Watch me carefully as I demonstrate. He picked up a random shuriken, still looking at the kids. Now, in a real standard shuriken, one side of the blades is blunt for holding purpose. Mizuki brought the wooden shuriken to eye level. While these are not real, the trick is the same. You'll hold the colored side of any blade in your index finger and thumb. Then, keeping your arm stable, repeat, keeping your arm stable, they'll move your wrist. He slowly flicked his wrist to show. There are two factors to determine the distance, direction and the impact your shuriken will make. The students listening attentively, he continued. First is how fast and hard you can move your wrist. Of course that will come with practice, so do that. Secondly, how well you can aim. Again, there is a trick to that. If the target is just opposite to you, you'll have to stop your wrist midway such that when the shuriken is released, your index finger and thumb point straight towards the target. He motioned towards one of the dummies to his left, the students following, before facing it. Then, with the flick of his wrist, he let the shuriken go, the wooden projectile whirling through the air before striking the bull's eye. The children knew and awed as the result. Satisfied, Mizuki again turned to face the students. For today, we will practice this. One by one, as called, you will step forward and throw 5 shurikens at the practice dummy. Pulling a sheet from his pocket and unfolding it, the sensei scanned it for a bit. Let's start from the back. Yamanaka Ino, step up. The pale blonde girl confidently strode forwards, taking the shurikens held by Mizuki before facing the practice dummy. Releasing a breath and with a flick of the wrist, she let go of the wooden projectile. Naruto watched keenly as the first shuriken, thrown by Yamanaka Ino, not only fell short of the target but also went sideways. Power and aim, Yamanaka. The girl tried again. And this time, the shuriken almost reached the target, swaying just an inch or two from the dummy. The blonde girl smirked and threw the remaining shuriken in succession, managing to hit one on the edge of the outer ring. Power and aim, huh? The Uzumaki mused to himself, preparing himself for his turn. Keep it up, Ino. Hi, sensei, replying, the girl took her place in the line. Uzumaki Naruto. The brunette ambled towards the Chunin, accepted the shurikens from the latter, before facing the target. Trying the motion a couple of times, he grabbed a shuriken before throwing it. Only to grimace. The wooden projectile went way above the target. Some snickers were heard. Ignoring them, he again grabbed a shuriken. Less power and more aim. Narrowing his eyes, the uzumaki flicked his wrist. The result was similar in a different way. The shuriken curved midway towards the left. The hell? I didn't even move my arm as much as xeno. This shouldn't be possible. Keep trying, Uzumaki. Barely sparing a glance at the Chunin, Naruto threw the remaining shurikens, all of them missing the target. It's alright. You'll definitely get it, just keep trying. Slumped and disappointed, he still nodded towards the sensei before taking his place beside the Yamanaka girl. I was better. Blinking, the Uzumaki looked at the girl who was smirking at him. Not in the mood to talk, he simply shrugged before looking back. A huff was his answer. Uchiha Sasuke. The duck-ass came, received the shurikens and threw them. And got 3 bullseye and the remaining 2 in the third ring of the total 5. Amazing. Despite knowing that the duck-ass obviously had some training due to his family being the police, Naruto couldn't help the feeling. Slut envy also raised its head. Good, Sasuke-kun. Still, keep practicing, you have a brother to surpass. Mizuki suddenly faced them all. Let it be your goal too. Sasuke-kun's elder brother, Uchiha Itachi, got a perfect score in the very first try, don't forget it. Whoa. Naruto was floored. This Itachi guy must have been deranged and still got the perfect score. It was unreal. Now, more than ever, he was utterly disappointed in himself. I know sensei, the black-haired kid replied before walking to his place. The next 5 kids came as called, throwing the shurikens, but none of them managed to even touch the dummy. Still, they were better than him. Nara Shikamaru. The pineapple-haired boy lazily drawled himself to the front, received the shurikens, yawning a bit before lazily throwing them. None of them even managed to reach halfway. Naruto's sweat dropped. Is he for real? Anyone can see he isn't even trying. Do the right way or your mother hears from me, Mizuki Kami voiced. Immediately, the boy straightened a bit, taking another set of shurikens ahead of throwing them. 2 hit the second ring, 1 in the fourth, another in the outer ring, and the last one simply passed beside the dummy. Good. I will expect the same dedication in future. Troublesome, muttering, the Nara dawdled towards the line. Naruto couldn't help but snort. So, this lazy ass is Nara Shikamaru. Namikaze Mido. Again, the redhead, without paying any attention to the openly staring kids, calmly walked forward, got the shurikens and threw them. The former blonde's jaw nearly dropped to the ground. For bullseye. This girl is way good. Guess, that personal caretaker guy must be a badass shinobi. Very good. As expected from you, Mito-chan. Thank you, sensei. The tone of the voice was polite yet slightly uncaring. The next names were called, but Naruto was barely able to pay them any attention, mind wandering back to his own lousy attempt. Just one would have been enough. Thump. The Uzumaki slightly yelped, something hitting him atop the head before falling down. Following it, he blinked. Hey, shuriken? Slowly, he gazed up only to see Ito Genji rubbing his forehead with the thumb, face scrunched in clear embarrassment. Some kids began to laugh. Oh. Sorry? Sighing, that disguised blonde simply waved off the boy. How the heck did he throw it in the opposite direction? Baffled, he thought, looking at the wooden object. A moment passed before he decided to let go of the word happening, and looked away. Shuhuga Hinata. The pale-eyed girl slowly walked, as if unsure of every step, received the shurikens, thanking the sensei, before throwing them. 2 hit the fourth ring, 2 missed and 1 hit the outer ring. Even, she's better than me. If possible, the Uzumaki's mood slumped even more. Haruno Sakura. The pink-haired girl missed the first 4 and managed to get the last one in the 5th ring. Dejected a bit, the girl ambled towards the line. Seeing enough for the day, Naruto shifted his attention around the school, watching the birds, trees and even the school building, mainly to distract himself from his mood. Everyone and their granny seemed to be better than him. Alright, this will be all for today. Tomorrow, we will begin with running and move on to other exercises. Mizuki paused a bit. Now, off you go and don't wander too far in the break. The students, regaining their energy on hearing about the lunch break, dashed towards the academy, obviously to pick up the meals prepared by their families. Shrugging, Naruto thought about his own situation. Considering the distance, half an hour should be enough for a quick meal at a Chiraku. Let's do it. His mouth watering at the mere notion, that disguised blonde turned around only for his feet to land on something. Looking down, he saw the shuriken thrown by Genji. Snorting at the incident, he continued. Only to halt after taking a single step. I don't know where to get these shurikens. Better keep this one. It will come in handy for practice later. Turning around, he crouched, grabbed the wooden object and nearly dropped it. What the? The shuriken was far lighter from the ones he had received. He blinked. From Mizuki. Could it be that the man purposely gave them to me? Narrowing his eyes, he carefully looked at the wooden object. This needs a try. Naruto-kun. Startled a bit, he glanced over his shoulder to see Mizuki walking towards him. Quickly, he pocketed the shuriken before facing the man. Sensei? Ah, sorry for interrupting you, but it's important. You see, you and Mito are the only orphans in the class, but she, being the former Hokage's daughter, has many advantages over you. So, as your sensei, it's my duty to give you a hand. What's his game? Oh. For what, sensei? Your meals, of course. Are they healthy enough for you? So, tell me, what are you going to eat now? Though suspicious, the former blonde decided to be honest. Ramen. You eat that every day? The uzumaki nodded. Yeah, okay. What about breakfast and dinner? Ramen, for all 3 of them. Is it not good? Naruto added, seeing the expression on the man's face. The shinobi was giving him a genuine smile. That was shocking in itself. No, it's good. In fact, you have quite a taste. I was worrying for nothing. The shinobi chuckled a bit. Anyway, don't let me keep you away from your food. You deserve it. Waving his hand, the chunin turned and walked away. See you tomorrow. Sure, replying, Naruto also followed, in the opposite direction. Naruto-kun, all this ramen isn't good for you. Why don't you try the other items? Like vegetables and meat? You know, it takes a lot of effort on my part to deliver them on your doorstep. But, I don't like them, Gigi. It's not about taste, Naruto-kun. Vegetables and meat are necessary for your growth. The conversation resurfaced in his mind, old man Hokage's words echoing over and over again. Now, he just had to decide whose words were genuinely honest. Mizuki's? Or Gigi's? Though, he was sure it wouldn't be that hard. Chapter 4, Genesis of a Shinobi, 2. Crap. I am late. Naruto dashed towards the academy, cursing his alarm clock for breaking down the day of all days. This time, I will buy a proper one in my disguise. The building came into sight, the uzumaki picked up his speed, straining his legs. 2 of his teachers were already impassive towards him for some unknown reason, giving them another one. Tardiness might draw their hate like Mizuki. Cutting his thought process, that disguised blonde released a breath before opening the door, and immediately became a subject to every pair of eyes present in the classroom. Why can't they mind their own business? Aminaruka glanced at the 6-year-old for a moment, not even acknowledging him, before looking back at the class. Takawamaki. Hi, sensei. Guess that's my cue. Though Ruka's whole indifferent attitude didn't put the man at the top of his list of favorite sensei, which was still empty, the Chunin was still better than Mizuki and Sasame. The first purposely misled him while the latter simply sent him out of the class for no reason at all. Ah well, at least Sasame teaches the boring things which I can even learn at home. The Uzumaki thought while taking his usual seat beside the window. As the name calls were being made and answered, Naruto, for his newfound habit, looked at the various groups having had formed on the very first day of the class, and grown in the past week, now busy in their own activities. And, as expected, he wasn't a part of any. They might haven't seen my disguise, but everyone and their grannies know who Uzumaki Naruto is. The parents must have warned him to stay away from it. He lightly snorted. It hurt just a bit, but aside from that, he was okay with the arrangements. For his classmates, Uzumaki Naruto might be a brunette, but for the villagers, he was still a blonde, blue-eyed whiskered child. It's funny, the villagers don't even realize the whiskers are just black markings. All in all, weekly appearances were a good idea. Still, he wasn't the only one lacking in social areas. There were others too. Uchiha Sasuke. Hi. Like the duck-ass who only talked with Mito. The Aburame was only talked to by a couple of boys but hated, with a passion, by all the girls. That disguised blonde smiled in amusement, recalling the screams of the girls when the bug boy had shown his bugs. Uzumaki Naruto. Here, sensei, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the pale eyes glancing at him, a saddened expression on her face, just like every day, since the past week, whenever his name had been called. The Uzumaki sighed a bit. The girl was a weirdo, never talking to anyone, sitting on her own, and many times a day, looking at him with an expression of disappointment, as if he stole her candy or something. Ah well, it's not like I wanna know or something. Silence, a pin-dropped silence befalling in the class. Ruka took in everyone. Continue with chakra control exercise. Some groans were heard. Quiet. It may not seem like it, but it's necessary. Also, until all of you can effectively stick the leaf onto your forehead, don't expect any further lessons. A glare finished the Chunin's words, daring anyone to contradict him. Of course, nobody did. Nobody could with that demon head no jutsu the scarred shinobi had in his arsenal. Naruto shuddered a bit. That thing is scary. Good. Now, start practicing. The sensei gazed around the classroom for some moments, making sure everyone had started. Uzumaki-san, come here. Not even covering the grimace on his visage, the former blonde groggily lifted himself off the seat ahead of taking small steps towards the front. A wave of snickers began following him. Ignoring them, Naruto continued. Why do I have to do this daily? It isn't like I won't tell him once I get it right. Musing to himself, he halted before the sensei. You know what to do. Releasing a breath, the 6-year-old nodded before retrieving a leaf out of his pocket and placing it on his forehead, tilted upwards. Carefully, he began forming the ram seal, closing his eyes for further concentration. The seal completed, chakra rushed into his grasp and he focused the energy on his forehead. Whoosh! A moment of silence ensued. Here it comes. Peals of laughter burst out in the classroom, drowning his groan. Damn it! Why can't I get it right? Quiet. The guffaws immediately reduced to some sniggers. Naruto opened his eyes and almost slouched in defeat, seeing the leaf held by the Chunin with the thumb and index finger. Ruka rotated the leaf, inspecting it a bit. The leaf is almost intact, apart from the small cut in the middle. It can be considered as progress, definitely better than the previous attempts. Uzumaki Naruto, have you accessed your chakra? Hi, that disguised blonde replied, a bit unsure. Show me. Nodding, he put a leaf on his forehead, bringing his hands into ram seal, and took a breath. It might be a bit different but should count as success. Whoosh! He mentally cursed, for the umpteenth time, seeing the leaf shooting, as if done by a slingshot, into the air before reducing to splinters. Utter silence descended in the class, followed by laughter. The uzumaki cringed, the memory still fresh. That had been a humiliating experience. Ruka hadn't even commented on the weird happening, simply asking him to practice. What else should I expect? Considering everything, he is even willing to teach is surprising in itself. All in all, he was a bit disappointed in himself. Even after spending hours, the technique wasn't just working as it should. Nevertheless, keeping his feeling aside, he nodded in understanding at the sensei before turning around. His eyes landed on the others. Everyone, apart from him, it seemed, had managed to work the technique. Of course, the clan heirs and the Hokage's daughter had been the first. The clan heirs. Now, that was mind-boggling. Even after a week, it was difficult to get his head around the fact that he, a no-named orphan, was in the same class as the future leaders of various clans in the village. What are the odds? Today, we'll read about various clans of the village. And, it's an honor to contribute to the teaching of all the clan heirs as well as Mito-san. Though Sasame had kicked him out afterwards, the words still managed to incite his attention. Thankfully, he had the books to sate his curiosity. Can I even compare myself with them? They have all the resources at their use. Very good, Sakura-chan. Naruto, heeding to the words, looked at the pink-haired civilian girl. The girl was holding 3 leaves, stacked onto each other, on her forehead as well as one on her either hand. A feat nobody had managed to achieve. His earlier thoughts instantly vanished. Idiot, stop underestimating yourself. If she can do so many, why can't you? And that too, just one? His mood doing a 180, the uzumaki walked up to his seat, emptied his pocket and spread the leaves on the desk. With so many leaves, they might have to change the name of the village. Chuckling to himself, he took the seat and turned towards the window before placing a leaf on the forehead and commencing the practice. Whoosh! Mizuki waited, arms crossed, tapping his left bicep with his other hand, as the students assembled themselves into a line. They are so clumsy, and Tsubaki wants to have one with me. Brats, he announced as the line was made up. 5 laps around the academy, a scowl immediately developed on his face as the groans and mutters filled the clearing. Now. Most of them recoiled for a bit, before dashing off. Sensei, Genji gave up and is laying on the other side. TCH, not even 2 laps and he wants to become a ninja. Sneering a bit, Mizuki nodded once at the, what's she? Takawa. Something? Before giving up and jumping towards the school rooftop. Ugh. I hate playing a carriage to these shinobi wannabes. As expected, Uchiha and Namikaze are the first. Despite everything, Mizuki respected the 2 heirs. They did everything with a certain degree of fervor, a must for a shinobi. Both the heirs came to halt, panting heavily, and immediately began walking around. The Chunin gave an approving look. They are the only one to know the basics. A dog's yipping diverted his attention. He almost snorted, seeing Inuzuka dragging himself without any sort of symmetry of the body, tongue hanging from his mouth making it only worse. Then his eyes narrowed, another figure becoming visible after turning around the corner of the school building. Sparing another moment, he looked at the Inuzuka heir, having dropped on the ground. Get up. Walk for some minutes and allow your body to cool off. The dog boy groaning but complying, Mizuki took in the Kenchuhubai as it came to halt before him, looking fine apart from the slight raised breathing rate as was wont to happen. This is a glaring proof it's no human. As the brunette sat down, the sensei simply ignored him and began waiting for the others. Line up, brats. The white-haired shinobi shouted over his shoulder, taking in the cheerful visages as if they had earned the respite. All of them are fodder. Disgust marred his face as the Yamanaka heir strode forward, purposely and haughtily. The hell is Inoishi thinking? She isn't even deserving of the title of clan heiress. Still, his face would be worth watching once she knows the horrors of our world. Outwards, he took in the brats assembled in line. Today, we'll learn about taijutsu. Mizuki rolled his eyes, seeing Sakura giving him an expectant look. Doesn't she learn? Taijutsu or melee combat is one of the 4 pillars of shinobi ideology, the others being ninjutsu, genjutsu, and raijutsu. Ruka-sensei will teach you more about the last 3. So, let's begin with taijutsu. Not waiting for the response, he took a couple of steps to stand beside a dummy. For today, I will teach you the basic academy style. Even the clan heirs need to learn this because this style is the foundation and can be modeled into any other stance. The Chunin placed his right leg diagonally behind the left, the limbs 2 feet apart and crouched a bit. Eyes not leaving the students, he brought his left fist up to the level of chin, and placed the right arm parallel to his waist, closing the fist. Copy me. The students began imitating the sensei, some interchanging the arms, the feet, and a couple even falling onto their asses after crouching. Sighing, Mizuki relaxed and approached them, taking in the 3 students that had gotten the stance right. Namikaze and Dutch I can understand, but the Hyuhugo too, eh? Surprising indeed. Beginning from the first, the Chunin started correcting the flaws, swatting the arms into the correct position, kicking the shins and ankles, while ignoring the grunts among other expressions of pain. This way, you'll get it right, brats. Smirking towards the others who corrected their stance on their own, probably out of fear, he soon reached the second last in the line, gave the stance once over before nodding and moving forwards. Months of practicing kept Naruto from showing any expression on his visage, but inside, he was stunned. Mizuki had just nodded at his stance, as if in approval, which was shocking in itself. Hate aside, does he think of me as some sort of idiot? Or just because I am a clanless orphan, he's grouping me as another no-brain civilian kid? Most of the civilians were content in learning the way the 3 sensei were teaching. The clan heads didn't give 2 shits, simply because they already knew it to work and learn at their homes. Only Sakura asked questions, too many, but in the end it worked for him. He got most of his doubts answered without any need of voicing them. But here, Sakura wouldn't know how his body felt, how he was leaning towards the right side, and how there was a distinct lack of confidence in positioning the left arm in comparison to the dominant right one. The uzumaki side, not wanting to ask the Chunin. Here also, it's learning by watching. Then, he glanced right, first time grateful for his name beginning with you, seeing the Uchiha standing without a flaw, and tried his best to imitate him. A couple of minutes and some really awkward moments later, that disguised blonde felt a semblance of balance in his body. Well, it's better than earlier. Mizuki's eyes slightly narrowed, the Kyuhu by managing to correct almost half of the flaws just by observing, rousing suspicion in him. This warrants further looking into. At the same time, aware of the others, he generalized his attention, taking in the rudimentary grasp of the stance by everyone. It's time to begin with the art of punching. Some confused stares were directed at him. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but punching is what I said, an art. It's more than decking your opponent with a closed fist, like not telegraphing your attack, or in other words, not letting your opponent know with which hand you're gonna punch him, among other things. Anyway, you'll learn that on the go. For now, let's begin with simple punching. Mizuki faced the dummy. Now most of you'll normally punch like this. He raised his hand up to the level of head, bringing it behind the ear, closed the fist and punched. Then, he turned towards the students. As you saw, this way of punching is time-consuming, totally gives away my intention, and with the way my arm jerked back after the motion, it's wrong. Posing, Mizuki settled in the stance. The stance is basically a platform where you are in a ready position to attack. Facing the dummy, he laid a series of slow punches on it, altering between both the hands, sometimes starting with the left but finishing with the right. Satisfied, he turned to face the students and was met with clear expressions of understanding from all of them. So, they are not totally useless, after all. I take it you understand? A series of nods were his answer. Then, Minamoto Ichi, share your thoughts. The brown-haired boy stepped forward, scratching his chin. The way you punched, sensei. And compared to the previous attempt. Mizuki nodded, getting a bit impatient with the boy's dragging. It was cooler, faster and awesome. The Chunin grimaced, more so at seeing other civilian kids beaming at the boy. Namikaze Mito, step up. The redhead stepped forward. From the position of your arms, you were able to attack faster, the reason being your arms in front rather than behind your head. Also, due to that, you were able to control your arms the way you wanted. The white-haired man simply nodded, satisfied, before taking in the others. Now, start. Naruto, standing before the dummy, tried a couple of punches with his right hand only to frown. Not only is it far slower than Mizuki's but there's a jerk also post-hitting. Mizuki's arms remain totally straight and controlled. Placing the observations aside for the time being, he punched with his left hand and nearly dropped it in resignation. The movement was clumsy, sloppy, and slower than even the right hand. Just like writing only works with the right hand. Glancing around, a bit disappointed, he furrowed his brows seeing the Uchiha rhythmically punching the dummy with both his hands. The motion was perfect. But the movement of the duck-ass made it difficult to observe and compare with his own flaws. Duck-ass isn't of any help. What about? He glanced to his left, seeing the Yamanaka also busy in the movements. Despite being slower, even she could use both of her hands. Footsteps approaching interrupted his thoughts. The Uzumaki looked in the opposite direction to see Mizuki coming towards them, halting on reaching the duck-ass. Should I ask him? A contemplating expression developed on his face. Most certainly, Mizuki was going to provide a wrong answer, but it wasn't like he was doing it correct on his own. Let's try. I have nothing to lose. Sensei, the former blonde voiced, as the man mirrored him, the latter raising an eyebrow at the addressal. I can't get it right. The hand jerks after hitting the dummy, and the left hand is clumsy and slow. Show me. Not the one to look a gift horse in the mouth, Naruto did as told before gazing expectantly at the white-haired man. Well, I can't seem to find a fault. It's your first time, maybe you've got in your head that you're doing it wrong. Keep practicing. That disguised blonde was again floored by the sheer lies this man could spout from his mouth. But others made the same mistake and you corrected them, and now they are a lot better. He could see from his position, the three civilian kids making improvements after the sensei had approached them. Damn it. This way, I won't even learn anything. Mizuki smiled. However, the tightening of the skin beneath the eyes gave it away. I can't correct something that already is, Naruto-kun. Please, keep practicing and you will manage it in no time. Replying, the Chunin walked past him. Glancing at the back of the Chunin, slight shock filling his being at the blatant dismissal, Naruto gritted his teeth. What was the point of joining the academy if this would be a regular occurrence? Two of the sensei clearly hated him while the last one tried to mask it. Only after you become a shinobi, you'll be able to go on various missions, afford things that are now out of your reach, and most certainly, be able to warrant respect from your colleagues if you prove your worth. Earlier thoughts slowly receding, the Uzumaki released a breath, old man Hokage's words resurfacing in his mind. The shinobi path is my only way out. Spending days on missions outside the village would be awesome. His mood uplifting, picturing the future, Naruto glanced at the blonde girl to his left, and started paying attention to the motion of her hands. She's my only chance. Blowing out some air, Naruto wiped off his forehead of sweat, the act causing him to look towards the skies, orange hue indicating the time of the day. It's already evening, huh? The brunette glanced towards the academy building for a bit. I have been practicing for 3 hours. Cool. A slight throbbing pain in his hands drew his attention to the limbs. Flexing them a bit, Naruto took in the red knuckles and then, the slight indentations in the practice dummy, an expression of near satisfaction paving its way on his face. There was improvement, though slight, but everything counted. As it turned out, Yamanaka Ino was also trying to perfect the punch with both of her hands, and her method was to deliberately slow down the motion. Guess, she is more than just an appearance-concerned girl. But he couldn't help the bout of self-lamentation that it had taken him around half an hour to read the blonde girl's method of just attempting the motion without the element of speed. Still, it was worth it. Now, after the practice, he could punch almost straight without any jerk, and even though the left hand was still slower, there was a distinct lack of clumsiness from earlier. This was progress in his eyes. Alright, Uzumaki Naruto. Keep trying and you'll be shinobi in no time. Who the hell needs a sensei? Grinning a bit, that disguised blonde began walking towards the academy building. Let's pick up the bag and then, Ichiraku, here I come. He entered the building, taking a left and began ambling towards the last room in the corridor. As he passed the third door, the sounds of paper shuffling invaded his ears, making him glance at it. This is Sensei Lounge. They stay this late in the academy? Though shrugging after a moment, the Uzumaki walked past it. No later, he entered the classroom, picked the bag and exited into the corridor, while fixing the straps over his shoulders. Another bout of throbbing in his hands, and he began flexing them for relaxation of the muscles. What if it is responsible? The Uzumaki slowed down, nearing the Sensei Lounge, the voice, obviously of Sasame, from inside the room, pronouncing it in an all too familiar manner. What are the chances? I don't know about the. A slight hushing was heard, made by Sasame, but the previous voice was obviously of Mizuki's. The subsequent snort too, fine. Brat is clearly perceptive. Just today, he managed to remove most of the flaws in his stance and punching, by merely observing. If the day before the brat wasn't any indication, then, these recent words were a glaring proof that he was the subject of their conservation. Eyes narrowing, Naruto found himself inching closer to the door. If what you are saying is true, then it is definitely a cause of concern. Should we tell Hokage-sama? You already know, Sandaime-sama favors it a lot. Also, he, being Hokage, is already burdened enough. That is correct. So, what should we do? What else? We take the matter into our hands. Why you mean? Naruto's eyes widened. Having spent the last months in the red light district, he knew what the words entailed. Are they going to? He gulped, and for a moment, the survival instinct surged him to dash away, but wanting to learn more about their plan, he stayed rooted on the spot. Only if he continues to show such improvement. After all, being an orphan and considering his treatment, he should struggle to learn, not improve on his own. There was silence for some moments, and the Uzumaki found himself clenching his frantically beating heart. And Mizuki. But Mizuki-kun, it could be an initial bout of attention and excitement that every student has. It might be. Still, we need to keep an eye on him. The intentions were clear and well received. That disguised blonde took a step back, then another, and no later, he was dashing out of the academy, eyes haunted and face pale. The moon was playing hide-and-seek with the clouds, sometimes lighting the water in the river, and others, making it appear as if the river had just vanished into the darkness, the wet sensation on his submerged feet, serving the only proof. Even this isn't helping. For as far as he could remember, this place and the Hokage monument had always calmed him, alleviating his worries, but today, neither seemed to work. Naruto glanced at his heaving chest, taking note of the rapid and heavy breaths that hadn't calmed down since the last 2 hours. Even if I am trying to think of something, the body's reaction, like it has a mind of its own, is making it difficult. But the issue at hand was too severe, he couldn't just fault his body. Mizuki hating him was one thing, but going as far as to plot his murder, the former blonde shuddered. It was scary. That too, because he was just trying to improve. He couldn't just understand what was wrong in that. Wasn't that the very point of joining the academy? Learn and improve yourselves and The Uzumaki shook his head. The academy wasn't that important, but the reason why Mizuki was willing to go this far. What had he ever done to the Chunin or others, as a matter of fact? If he continues to improve. The white-haired man's words flashing in his mind, Naruto frowned heavily. It was like the man was afraid of him getting stronger. But why? He was sure he wasn't going to harm the man or something. Hell, he didn't even care anymore what the villagers thought about him, so why couldn't they just leave him alone? And that. Naruto sighed loudly, almost slumping to the ground. I need to stop this. Trying to solve the issue for the last 2 hours hadn't worked at all. Rather than thinking of a solution, it seemed his mind had gotten stuck on the problem, again and again, playing the same train of thoughts. Ugh. I still don't know what to do, the 6-year-old fisted his hair in frustration. I can't even go to Gigi. The old man was already taking care of him, burdening him with this new problem wouldn't just bode well with him. Further, what were the chances that the new teacher, if old man Hokage actually got rid of Mizuki, would not hate him and continue on the same path? Even worse, he or she could try to be more secretive of that. Also the way things were in the village, for how long would he be going to rely on Gigi? Red Light District had taught him that you were your only hope. His stomach chose to rumble at that time. Still, he continued to ponder for some moments. Only after hitting a mental block, just like previous attempts, the brunette decided to leave the issue for the time being. Let's get the food first. Time is something I have. The Uzumaki got his feet out of the river before standing and walking towards the ramen shop. Sleep was going to be a stranger tonight. Ah, Nanashi-kun, Tuki exclaimed, as the kid entered the shop. A moment please, muttering and sparing a glance at the clock that showed 10 minutes to 8, he began wiping the remaining side of the counter, sure the kid would be the last customer of the day. Hey, old man, replying, the Uzumaki perched atop the stool directly opposite to Tuki. The old man paused, taking note of the dull tone of the voice, before gazing at the kid. What's bothering you, child? The endearing expression bringing a bout of warmth in his chest, Naruto lifted one side of his lips. Just a bad day at academy. More like the worst day. Oh. Sorry, in that case, I can be of no help in shinobi matters. The old man gave a slightly sad smile, but after a bit, his face brightened. But I know where I can. The kid tilted his face. With the bowl on the house. Naruto's smile widened, earlier thoughts disappearing for the time being. Thanks, old man. Tuki gave a thumbs up in response. Wait, before disappearing into the shop. No later, the shop was filled with mouth-watering aromas. Savoring the fragrance for a bit, that disguised blonde directed his attention to the menu on display, eyes scanning the various flavors of the heavenly dish. Someday, I am gonna try that super deluxe Chiraka combo and that one too. Also that one. The sound of something placed on the counter drew his attention, mouth salivating seeing the bowl full of miso ramen. Not waiting, he picked up the chopsticks. Itadakimasu, before immersing into the food of gods. Tuki laughed, amused and surprised at the fervor displayed by the kid. You know, I used to have a customer just like you, a couple of years ago. He also loved ramen but without the vegetables and meat. Oh. Chewing the meat in his mouth, Naruto looked curiously, almost sure about what kid the old man was talking about. He doesn't visit anymore? Sadly, no, Tuki shook his head. He stopped around 2 years ago. I don't know why cause this used to be his favorite food. I wonder what happened? Yeah, the former blonde muttered absent-minded, looking back at the bowl of ramen. Sorry, old man, I can't tell you, I don't even know for how long. Anyway, don't let me interrupt you. Tuki nodded at the bowl of ramen before making himself busy around the shop. Unable to do anything, the Uzumaki could only heed to the man's words. Petting his stomach, Naruto looked around the street, taking in the villagers and the shops. The shopkeepers were still going to wait for an hour, waiting for any customer, before closing down. and I have nothing to do but think. Nothing had turned up so far, he couldn't think of anything to deal with Mizuki. Though, if he was going down, the Chunin would too, that he was sure of. A mixture of frown and determination covering his face, the Uzumaki began walking towards his apartment. Just you wait, Mizuki-dam, I will find. A wail caught his attention before his eyes took in a smaller kid pointing towards a shop. I want the teddy. Now. But Ranchan. Teddy. 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 Naruto found himself slowing down, the mother capturing his attention more than the wailing kid. The lady was doing everything to comfort the boy, but the latter wasn't listening at all. If only I had someone like that, he wished as the lady finally relented and entered the shop, kid in her arms. A bittersweet smile paved its way on his face. Parents were truly a gift, one almost everyone, whether a child or a grown-up, took for granted. But what was surprising, the former were always happy with the arrangements. I would never. Yay! That disguised blonde blinked, hearing the sudden cry of happiness from the child emerging from the shop, a white teddy clutched in small arms. Behind him, the woman ambled out, smiling at the happy child. Shaking his head, Naruto resumed his walking. Lucky one. You brat. You can't another one. Despite the words, there was a bit of fondness and exasperation which made the Uzumaki turn around. Upon doing that, he saw a young man, bearing a small resemblance to the child, running towards the duo. The child only giggled, raising his new toy. What? The woman looked at the man with a confused expression. Sorry, Megumi-chan, the man came to halt before grabbing the ear of the child. My nephew is a bit of a trickster. He fake cries to make you lower your guard, you know what I mean? Oh. Naruto stopped listening after that. Gears began turning in his mind, the experience from the red light district and his pranks from even before, concocting a solid plan in his mind. A few moments passed. Then, a wild grin appeared on his visage. Trick them, huh? I can do that, hee. Uzumaki Naruto. No response came, forcing Ruka to look at the usual seat of the Jinchuriki, only to find it empty. Is he absent today? He repeated again. Uzumaki Naruto. Voice, a tad bit louder. Come in, sensei. The sound of pacing reverberated in the corridor, easily audible in the classroom too, before the door slid open. The scarred Chunin turned to reprimand the boy for delay but found himself flabbergasted, mouth parting in sheer stupor, seeing the 6-year-old's choice of attire. What are you wearing? The Uzumaki tilted his head, apparently in confusion. Oh. Clothes? Immediately, a roar of laughter filled the classroom. Ruka was sure they weren't laughing at the Uzumaki's response. Nevertheless, he couldn't bring himself to stop them, still shocked at the monstrosity on display before him. But they are. Oh, Aura. Orange? The sensei nodded, surprisingly glad at his failed attempt to finish the word. Yeah, I know, right, orange is awesome. Naruto even pinched the collar of the jumpsuit for further emphasis. This is my favorite dress, and I have been dying to try it here since the very first day. A wide grin accompanied his words. If possible, the children only laughed harder. Dying to wear this? The Chunin was floored. How could someone consider such a glaring piece of trash as their favorite dress? It was beyond understanding. Where did you even buy it? Someone had the gall to actually sell such things. Ruka's eye twitched as the Jinchuriki fondly looked at the dress. From the market of Sector 5. The shop guy said it's a good quality fabric, enables air to pass, and even gave it for just 2,000 ryos. The Uzumaki gave an astonished look. Can you believe it? Only 2,000 ryos for this awesome orange jumpsuit? I was so happy that I bought too. He even nodded with an air of accomplishment. The scarred shinobi's jaw hit the floor. 2,000 ryos? For this? He didn't need to even touch the fabric to tell that it was of extremely poor quality and could have been easily bought at a quarter of the price paid. At that time, as the ramifications settled into his mind, Ruka couldn't help but feel a sliver of pity for the kid. The villager's attitude towards the latter wasn't hidden, and it was blatant that the shopkeeper, whoever it was, had played the kid false. Does he deal with this on a daily basis? Though, despite the brief conflict of emotions, the Chunin still couldn't bring himself to mend the boy's doing. Whatever. Take your seat. Whatever. Take your seat. Naruto shrugged, but inwards, he was laughing at the reactions of the normally composed Chunin. Oh my Kami. This is hilarious. Thank you, jumpsuit. Never thought you were gonna be useful like this. The former blonde began ambling towards his seat, thoughts about the next course of action swirling in his mind. Seeing Ruka's reaction, he was hopeful that the attire would have some sort of influence on Mizuki too. And considering how the white-haired Chunin frequently tried to avoid dealing with most of the kids, especially the civilians, apparently because they did not learn like the clan heirs, he was positive that Mizuki would also label him as a useless brat playing shinobi. The fuck? Mizuki barely prevented himself from yelling out the words, taking in the hideous orange jumpsuit the Chuhubai was wearing. Is he trying to compensate for his fur? The color and quality aside, he said he bought it for 2,000 ryos. Can you believe it? That's 4 times the actual price. Ruka's words flashed in his mind. The white-haired Chunin frowned. How could Chuhubai fall for such an easy deception? Wasn't it supposed to be a master of deception and tricks? His eyes immediately narrowed. Is it trying to deceive us? Though, he immediately shook his head. There was no reason for the demon to do that. If anything, it needed to learn to get strong, and that warranted attention and respect of this sensei. Not this, which would only draw their ire. Naruto, you ask? Ruka hummed for a bit. Well, he hasn't even managed the basic leaf exercise. In fact, he tries daily, even at home, he told me, but it isn't just working. The demon wasn't even able to get the most basic of the exercise that everyone was able to do by second day, in a week. Could it be that it was actually dumb and no-brained? The possibility was there. It might be that the demon possessed a foolish and stupid child. But then, how did it manage to correct most of the flaws in the stance? It might be an initial bout of attention and excitement that every child has. The stance is the most rudimentary one, you don't have to be overly intelligent to grasp it. Was the same right? Ugh. Mizuki clenched his fists. This was seriously beginning to give him a migraine. Taking a deep breath, he decided to push the issue back in his mind. Let's observe him for some days. Continue the punching. For the remaining time, the Chunin continued to watch the Chuhubai trying to correct his motions only to fail. The clumsiness of the left hand, the jerk post-hit and the lack of speed was still there, just like yesterday. The words of Ruka and Sasame seemed to be increasingly plausible. Still, to be safe, he decided to pursue the observation for some days. Alright, you can go now, Mizuki announced, waiting as the brats departed towards the building. When the Jinchuriki approached him, he smiled. The jumpsuit looks good on you, Naruto-kun. The demon's face lit up with joy, nearly making him cringe. Thank you, Mizuki-sensei. Is he for real? The sensei thought in shock, still smiling outwards. Then again, the demon did eat ramen for all the 3 meals. Taking note of the genuine smile on Mizuki's face, Naruto felt relieved and hopeful. It seemed he was on the right track. Hopefully, I will be able to solve my problem without going to the Hokage. Moreover, it wasn't like his studies would suffer any more than they already were. He was already learning by observation and relying on others getting their doubts answered. He could continue this. Observe at the academy and practice later. But I will need to change the training place, academy grounds are risky. Naruto waited for Sasame to enter and take notice. Some moments later, a purple-haired woman entered the room, and as expected, her eyes immediately locked onto him, but she didn't say anything about leaving the class. She's on mission, huh? The uzumaki smirked. Well, so am I. He purposely yawned loudly, not caring for the others, and laid his head on the desk. The sensei frowned but again refrained herself. "Two can play this game, sense. Let's see how long you can manage." He shifted his head and began looking out of the window. "Uzumaki-san, pay attention." That was quick. Mentally grinning, he lazily glanced at her. "But it's so boring." The kids began laughing. Susame, though, began fuming, fists clenching, and then she glared. "Get out." "I win." "Sure." Naruto stood up, giving a two-fingered salute, before jumping out of the window. "Uzumaki. Get. Where the hell are you three going?" "Three?" The former blonde looked over his shoulder, eyebrows lifting in surprise, seeing Kiba, Shikamaru and Shoji also jumping out of the window. "What the?" At that moment, Naruto found himself slowing down, hoping that maybe the three would like to join him. But on touching the ground, the three boys dashed towards different directions. That disguised blonde shook his head, a sad smile on his face. "Not everything, Naruto, not everything." Grinning at his escapade, the Uzumaki strode towards Haru's shop. During Susame's lecture, I can help Haru-san, and later, in the evening, practice and all that. The sun is quite moody this time of the day. Thwack. Naruto's smile vanished. The sound, apparently of a hit, followed by a clutter of noise as if several things had fallen down simultaneously, made his eyes narrow. "This is coming from inside." That disguised blonde mused, looking intently at the brick shop. "Please." That was Haru-san's voice. Not waiting anymore, Naruto swung open the door and dashed inside. His eyes widened, taking in the scene. A heavy man was trying to choke Haru, both hands clasped around the thinner man's neck. The burly man had also pushed the shop owner over the table. Apparently, his sudden entry did not go unnoticed. Both the men turned to look towards the door, Haru only able to move his eyes, which widened further, if possible. And Naru, too. A run. Perhaps it was the plight of the man who had helped him so much, or his budding confidence after numerous fights with Kenta, or it was the sight of the same burly man who had tried to smash bottle on his head, only to be whisked away by a ninja, but Naruto stayed rooted. "Stop it, you bastard," the Uzumaki shouted, using the same words he heard around the red light district. "The hell are you looking at?" he further added, seeing the weird look the man was giving him. "Naruto," the man slowly pronounced, the slur giving away his drunk status, as if testing the name on his tongue. In that moment, both the man and Naruto simultaneously connected the dots. The former's glare harshened, face twisting into something ugly. "Demon." That disguised blonde's eyes widened, hearing the word, and he waited for the shinobi to pounce on the drunk bastard. Some moments passed but no one came. The burly man, having grimaced slightly at his slip-up, also noticed the non-happening. Then he looked around for a bit, before a snarl escaped his mouth. "I'll fucking kill you." Totally forgetting about Haru, the drunkard began striding towards him. Naruto almost took a step back, the shout of hell reaching his throat, but then he halted. So did the words. The past months in the red light district flashed before his eyes, seeing a lot of men, women and children alike in some worst situations, screaming for help and mercy. But it had never come. Neither it would, now. Slowly, he began accepting the reality and the situation he was in. Still, not wanting to ditch one of the very few men who had shown kindness to him, he looked around the shop before dashing towards the counter. Thwack! Crunch! Something hit him on the side of his head jerking, and the disguised blonde felt himself falling in the opposite direction. Some moments later, he found himself looking with blurry eyes, becoming aware of his prone form. "I don't remember hitting the ground." He tried blinking, the motion making him aware of the sharp pain in the top of his head, but apart from the slight clarity before the eyes, nothing happened. At that time, something turned him over, and next moment, a heavy pressure settled onto his neck, restricting his breathing by a lot. As if due to shock, his vision cleared even more to the point that he could make the image of the burly man sitting beside him. He's killing. Fear of death making itself known, the uzumaki was rendered frozen in shock. He forgot everything around him, focus-oriented on his struggling breaths and the subsequent feeling of weakness and helplessness that was slowly covering his entire being. The various emotions registered, and immediately, a strong urge to survive also rose up, dwarfing all other sensations. Eyes going frantic, Naruto began flailing his arms in a hope to find anything to help him escape. Small hands began petting the floor in a frenzy, and no later, his right hand landed on something sleek and hard. Not thinking, his fist closed around the object before he brought it towards the man. Taking the support of the table, Haru pushed himself up. Eyes immediately landing on the drunk man purposely moving towards the prone kid, he shouted, "Fuji! Stop!" But the voice came out hoarse. Fuji didn't stop, a distinct aura of blood palpable around the burly man. Is it due to Kyuubi? But they seem to have some history. Still wondering, Haru pushed himself off the table, taking a step, but immediately fell down. Not relenting, the tavern owner again tried to stand up, taking purchase of the edge of the very table, while his gaze landed on the drunkard about to choke Naruto. Perhaps it was slight fear of losing the kid who had become a close acquaintance, or the subsequent fear of Hokage tearing him asunder, or the worst-case scenario, the revival of Kyuubi, but at that time, Haru felt the surge of strength and determination wash over him. Standing, he began to walk towards the duo, a realization dawning in the mind that Fuji would not stop. Unless made to. Eyes landing on an empty bottle on the table to the left, his hand quickly closed around its neck. His resolve made, Haru picked up pace, covering the distance in 3 long strides. Tightening his fist around the bottle, for reassurance, the tavern owner swung it with full might, the previous beating by the drunkard resurfacing in his mind only fueling the power. Crank. The bottle broke from below the neck, glass splintered around, a couple of shards even emerging into his own skin, but he didn't care. Fuji, though, recoiled, both his hand coming to clasp around the teoria for some moments, before falling, as if cut off from some imaginary strings holding him, over the smaller body beneath him. Haru took a breath and immediately choked when a metal grill protruded out of the drunkard's chest. The rusty metal was quickly recognized, his eyes landing on the broken grills of the window. "Fuji, you bastard! Now who's gonna pay for all this damage?" Wiping his hands, Haru looked at the boys standing behind him. "Take the rest of the day off, and not a word of this to anybody," voice as casual as it could be, confident of the duo's secrecy. After all, this was the red light district, such occurring though few but were far from rare. Both the boys nodded and walked out of the tavern. Haru turned his gaze towards the uzumaki. The boy had not moved in the entire last hour, keeping his arms crossed around his knees hugged to his chest. Brown eyes were unblinking and slightly wide. "At least there are no tires," the older man mused looking at the boy. "He's taking it a lot better." Though, knowing the boy needed to let out or at the very least talk, Haru crouched. "I have taken care of the body, nobody's gonna trace it back to us." Voicing, he waited for some moments, hoping to get any sort of reaction. But nothing came. "Damn it. I am no good at this shit." Reaching a hand through his hair, he opened his mouth, keeping it parted for a moment. "Listen kid. It couldn't be helped." Nodding to himself, getting a hold of the words to be spoken, he continued. "It was either him or us. It wasn't even our fault, I just wanted to knock him out, and you just happened to hold the grill at the exact time." Finally, the kid's eyes dropped a bit, and Haru pressed on. "If not. If we hadn't done that, he would have killed you and then me. I don't know about you, but I want to live and would gladly do it again. Also, don't you want to be a shinobi? Well, treat it as your first kill," he finished, slightly hesitating at the last word, hoping the brat wouldn't break down or something hearing the word. But to his slight surprise and huge relief, The child nodded slowly. The hesitation was obvious but was expected. Still, Haru decided to stay with the Jinchuriki for the time being. Report. Uzumaki Naruto accessed his chakra but is unable to control it even to the point of the basic leaf exercise. Further, he struggles in taijutsu, but so do other civilian kids, so maybe in the near future, he will manage it. Though he barely pays any attention to Sasame-san's lectures, Ruka finished, releasing a breath, and waited for his leader's comments. Haru-san stayed silent for some moments, contemplating the words of the chunin. Must be due to his large chakra reserves. Do not worry, Ruka-kun, I will talk to him, the scarred shinobi nodded humbly. Anything else? Oh. Uzumaki-san has also started wearing a totally impractical orange jumpsuit. If not for the circumstances, Haru-san would have smiled, seeing the barest of the concern that had seeped into the voice of the chunin. You were the right choice, Ruka. Does he have any friends in the class? Though confused at the strange question, Ruka knew he had to reply in kind. None I am aware of, Hokage-sama. Regret and sadness tried to clench his heart but years of practice helped in pushing the feelings aside. It seems, once again, he's trying to get attention by wearing bright clothes. Mulling about the issue for some seconds, he nodded to himself. Let him be. The tone of the words leaving no qualms, Ruka could only nod, no matter the surprise that filled his being. Well, I did my duty. Thank you for watching this video. If you like, please like, share and subscribe and wait for my next video.